So today we're talking about unlocking your dream home, the cost of waiting versus buying now, selling now. So many people are thinking that because interest rates are so high that it's going to be better to wait. And so I wanted to address that today, and I wanted to just see, let's unpack this and let's see, will it actually be better to wait? Last week, we dove into some of the numbers of my own properties. And this week, we'll be reviewing those and also diving into what would happen had I waited, what would I have missed out on, or maybe I wouldn't have missed out on anything. So we're just going to kind of dive into those and use my numbers as a case study. So let's jump in. All right. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Brittany Hannon. I'm a real estate agent, coach, and investor. For almost 20 years of my life before real estate, I was in educational leadership. And so I did lots of training and teaching and coaching and all of these kind of things, which easily translate into what I do now and these kind of events. And so I do love doing this kind of thing. In 2018, I bought my first out-of-state investment property, and I was thinking, oh, it's too expensive to buy in California because working in education, I was not bringing in the big bucks. So I bought outside of California, and I was able to buy that. It was a pretty smooth process. It was a fourplex in Ohio. And so I said, you know what, that went pretty well. How about I look into trying to buy in California? So actually about 3 months later, I bought my own primary residence in California. Then I said, you know what, that was a pretty fun process. I think this is what I should do. And so soon after that, I got my real estate license, and then I jumped into real estate full time in January 2020 when the world shut down. Well, no, I guess it shut down in March 2020. So the world shut down, and all I had to do was do research, create videos, and figure out what this whole real estate thing was all about. So because of that, I was able to be contacted by another coach who said, hey, join our coaching team. And so now I am a coach to about 150 agents all across California. So if you're looking to buy or sell anywhere in California, I got you covered. So that is how I am a real estate agent, coach, and investor. And I have lots of insights to share with you, and I like to share it via stories. So I'm going to tell you lots of stories and case studies and real life examples of what is going on. So what are we talking about today? Where are we going? So we are going to do a quick review on selling my home, on buying my new home, because yes, I did buy and sell in this crazy market. And so we are going to talk about that and dig into some of those numbers. And then we're going to talk about the price of waiting, the cost. What is the cost? What is it going to cost you to wait? Is it going to cost you to wait? We're going to dig into that and see. And then at the end, we're going to talk about, all right, what's the bottom line? What does all of this mean for you? So be sure to stay to the end, because we are going to be talking about all of this and more. And throughout the whole night, I'm going to be giving you little tidbits and fun little pro tips about everything that's going on. So, all right, we're jumping in about buying my little home. This was my first little home that I bought in California. So this was when I was selling it. So when I first bought it, it did not look like this. This is an actual picture from the MLS. It was so cute. I was able to redo it a little bit. And so when I first bought it, it did not look like this. It had dark wood floors and carpet that was not very good carpet. It was kind of gross carpet. And everything was just dark and kind of dingy. And I said, you know what? I love that, because if you know me, you know I like ugly things. And so I like ugly houses. So I bought this place knowing that I wanted to have a few different exit strategies. So one of the exit strategies that I wanted to have was I knew that I needed some kind of income producing potential. Now, I also want to pause right there. Side note, next month, remember we do these webinars every month on the last Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. Next month, we're going to talk about house hacking. What is house hacking, you may ask? Well, it is just this. It is where we are going in and finding some way that we can have some kind of income producing potential in a house. And so it can be renting out an extra bedroom. It can be doing some Airbnb. It can be a guest house, whatever that is. So won't give you too much of a spoiler, but I do want to let you know that we're going to be diving into that next month at the end of September. So what I knew is that I needed to have some kind of income producing potential for this little place. So I made sure to buy a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom little condo because I knew that I needed to be able to rent out a bedroom or something. Well, what I ended up doing, spoiler alert for next time, what I ended up doing was I ended up using this little house as an Airbnb. So I would leave, stay with my mom, shout out to my mom, and I would rent out my whole Airbnb. I would Airbnb my whole place. So I was able to get that income and it was great. It worked out at the perfect time over COVID, all of it, worked out perfectly. So let's dig into the numbers. I bought in 2019 for $265,000. Now, if you remember 2019, not much was going on. We had no idea that there was a global pandemic on the horizon. We had no idea that, anything was coming. But what everybody was saying was there was a crash coming. We are in a bubble. So I bought this place knowing that this was the top of the market. This could be the top of the market. I could not, it could stop at 265 and I could get nothing out of it for another 5 years. And I bought it saying, you know what, I'm okay with that because I'm buying something that I have the potential to grow into if needed. So I was willing to do that, even though everybody was telling me this is a bubble, we're headed for a crash, all these things. Well, of course, if you guys have lived through the last 3-4 years, you know that in 2019, things have only gone up and up and up and up and up. So there was no crash then. And remember that, as we talk a little bit more tonight, we'll see that real estate is always about supply and demand. And so if there is very low supply, like there is right now, very low inventory and high demand, then prices keep going up. So there may be something, if there's some kind of course correction, there may be some kind of little blip here, but there's not going to be a crash. We're not going to see things go back down. This little condo is not going to go back down to $200,000. I digress. So I bought this little place for $265,000. And one of the things that we always need to address is that anytime I'm talking to renters, they tell me that they like to rent, and some of the benefits of renting is that their landlord covers the costs for things. And I say, yes, absolutely, you're right. So let's talk about what I had to pay for when I bought this place. First off, I don't actually think that I put this in here, but first of all, I got into this place with a down payment assistance program. And so I did not have to pay the full down payment. I only had to pay for closing costs because I got a down payment grant. Essentially, it was a silent loan. So after a certain amount of time and I met certain criteria, it was forgiven. And so what I did have to pay was I still had to pay for closing costs. So that was about $3,000. So I got into this place for $3,000. That is, less than you could even pay to get into an apartment. That is really unheard of. Now, I will say currently today, we do still have down payment assistance programs and things like that. And there are some that are getting accepted. So if you have questions about that, make sure that at the end there's a survey and I will answer all those questions. I also want to say, if you have questions, be sure to put them in the chat. I'm definitely going to stick around and answer all your questions to make sure you have everything answered. Another side note. All right, so let's get back to this. So yes, things broke. I had to put out some money. I was upset because I had just paid $3,000 and that was a lot of money for me. Remember, I was in education and I was in private education. So I was not bringing in the big bucks. So I had to pay $3,000. And right away when I moved in, the HOA told me, hey, your screens are broken. They need to be replaced. And I was like, are you kidding me? These screens were not even from me. These screens were from the previous owner. And they said, I don't care, they need to be replaced. So I had to pay $150 for broken screens. I was upset, but I did it. Then I had a flood and it was crazy and it was scary because I had never experienced anything like this before. The water line in the master bathroom had broken and was pouring out, gushing out, and I didn't know what to do, and it just flooded the primary bedroom, primary bathroom, the hallway, the guest bedroom, guest bathroom, and it was a mess. On top of it, it was actually Labor Day weekend. It was this weekend. It would have been on like Sunday of Labor Day weekend. And so it was hot and humid. So the plumber came, did what they need to do at like 11 p.m. And so the next day I had the remediation people out, and within 16 hours, there was a ton of mold that had grown onto the drywall and all over. It was gross, but it was because it was so hot and humid. And I live by the beach, so no air conditioning. So it was pretty bad. But guess what? My homeowner's insurance covered that. So instead of paying however much I would have had to pay out of pocket, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, I only paid $1,000 deductible to get that all fixed. Now they only pay to fix it to get to, make it right. They only pay to get to replacing what was already there. But I said, I want some upgrades. I want new flooring. I upgraded my bathroom vanities because the bathrooms did need to be replaced. The vanities in there needed to be replaced, and I wanted to upgrade those. So I spent an additional about $5,000. And yes, that was expensive for me back then too. But I said, you know what, let me bite the bullet. Let's do it. So I spent about $6,000 to redo my place. And you can see there are the new floors. And, it really paid off for me because, we're not there yet. Then another thing happened. This was so upsetting. My garage door broke and it cost me $1,600. And then I come to find out it wasn't even the garage motor that was broken, but they had already replaced it. So they charged me this. Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother story in and of itself. But I had to replace the garage door motor and it was $1,600. Oh, that one got me because I felt like I didn't really need to pay this. So at least, for the flooring and the vanities, at least it was something that I wanted and ended up being beautiful. But the garage door, oh, I was upset. So the total that I spent on this little place was about $7,750. Now, when you think about it in terms of renting, I was here for 4 years and I spent about $7,500. So when you think about renting, if your landlord, I think you'd be lucky if your landlord put in $7,500 while you lived there. I think most renters understand landlords don't put that kind of money in unless something really breaks or something drastic happens. So yes, I paid more than what a landlord would have paid, but I also got more because I redid all the floors in my house. I basically had brand new bathrooms. It was great. Now let's keep it moving. now let's talk about selling this little place, because I did sell recently. Remember, I said who would buy or sell in this market? Me, yours truly. And so I sold my place in February. Now, it was February of this year, 2023. And at the time, again, everybody was like, oh, now is not a good time to sell. You shouldn't do it. You should wait. Now is not a good time to buy, whatever. However, my partner and I wanted to buy a place together. And so I needed to sell this little place. So I decided, you know what, now is going to be a good time to sell. So I sold it for $405. Now remember, I had bought it for $265 4 years before this. Now, of course, this was over COVID and lots of appreciation happened, but it had appreciated a lot, almost double. Then I had paid down the mortgage in that time also. So I had paid down the mortgage from $265 to $245. So my total equity in 4 years was $152,000. That's pretty good. That is pretty good considering I put down $3,000. In 4 years, I had $152,000 worth of equity. So now what was I to do? Well, let's talk about buying my new home. So we wanted to get a place by the beach, and I literally took this. This is from our balcony. We have ocean views. It's beautiful, stunning. We love it. So this little place, it's a condo, and it was listed on the low side for $490. Other places in this same complex have been selling for about $600,000, $550 to $600,000, even some that are like $620, $650. So this one was listed low. I'm going to show you a picture after because it was ugly, but it was not presented well. This is why having a good agent working with you is key. So it wasn't presented well because it really could have presented better. It had fine wood floors. It actually had pretty high quality wood floors. They just weren't my style, but they were very dark. Everything in here was dark, 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 dark. Not my style, not my jam, not my vibe, and also not very many other buyers. So it was also listed at a time in June, I believe, when things were going really quick. So you put something on the market and it would go really fast. This had been on the market for 2 weeks and it was listed fairly low. Well, because it had been sitting on the market for, quote, so long, we offered lower and we got it under contract for $480. So we offered lower than what they were asking and we got it under contract for $480. Then throughout the, we put 20% down because remember we had some money to put down. And because we had money from the sale of my condo, we were also able to do a little remodel. That'll come in a second. So we put 20% down. We also got a seller credit for about $3,500. It actually ended up being a little bit more than this because of other concessions that they gave that I actually don't even know if they knew that they gave us. But so let's just call it about $3,500 in seller credits. So our total loan amount was for $384 because remember we put a 20% down payment. We got it under contract for $480. So our total loan amount was $384. So already we have that built-in equity of almost $100,000. So let's keep going. Now this was when we decided, this was when we were doing our remodel. So you can see our view from there while we were remodeling. So we just did a mini remodel. We didn't do everything. We did new floors, obviously, brightens everything up, lightens it up. It looks really nice. That was about $5,000. We updated the kitchen, which was definitely a necessity because there was no storage. There was no, I mean, it was bad. So we updated the kitchen. That was about $7,000. We did new texture and paint on the ceilings and all the walls. That was about $2,000. And then the miscellaneous items were about $1,000. Like we had to buy the hardware and the fixtures and things like that. That was about $1,000. So the total cost for our remodel was about $15,000. So, oh, let's look at the before picture. So here, this is a picture from the MLS. We see that they have one weird pendant light hanging out there in a weird spot. We have a portable island. So this was not anything that was going to be able to store anything. It was portable. You could move it out of the way. It was tiny. This was not going to work for us. You can see in here that they did have the wood floors, but they were a dark wood. So let's look at the after. This is after, and you can see we did this new island peninsula thing. We put the pendant lights in. We updated all of the hardware. We put the backsplash on. Phase 2 of our remodel is going to be replacing all the appliances, but for now, we didn't replace all the appliances. We just did this updating. So let's talk about the numbers with our before and after. All right. So remember, we purchased it for $480. What's next? Then what? Okay, there we go. We had a $15,000 remodel. And now we have an after repair value of about $575,000. This has actually gone up. If you were here with us last month, I had said that our after repair value was about $550,000. But since then, a couple things have closed for a lot higher, bumping up our value. So our after repair value, meaning what it is now that we've done this remodel, is about $575,000. So in total, because we put that 20% down, because now we've put some money into it, and now the after repair value is $575,000, our total out of pocket was $111,000. And our total equity in less than a month, well, at this point, it's been like a month and a half. Let me be generous. In about a month and a half is $205,000. Wow. Do you get that while you're renting? We do not get this kind of appreciation. We don't get any appreciation when we're renting. So rent versus buy, you know, I don't feel like we need to have that conversation because I'm always going to say, yes, you should buy. It's just a matter of when is the right time for you. But when is the time for you to not buy if you're going to miss out on this kind of appreciation? So let's talk about the price of waiting. We're going to go in a little bit of a different direction. We're going to nerd out on some numbers. So let me stop sharing because I want to share something different with you. All right, so I am going to share my screen and in a different way. And like I said, I'm going to nerd out on some numbers with you. Okay, so we have here, let me make it bigger so we can see. So I'm going to walk us through all of these numbers. So bear with me real quick. All right, here's a scenario. And what we're looking at, I'll walk you through this. So we're talking about going from, if we decided to, going from renting to buying. So let's say we wanted to buy something for $400,000. Okay, my Wi-Fi needs to catch up. There we go, 400,000. And let's say our down payment is about 5%, which you can get a conventional mortgage, an FHA mortgage, a VA mortgage, or loans for 5% down. You can get loans for as low as 3% down, and actually a VA loan you can get for as low as 0% down. So 5% down is not unheard of. That is definitely doable. Interest rates today, now let's let's talk about this. I did not mention what our interest rate was in the previous part of our conversation. And the reason for that is because I didn't care. I did not care what the interest rate was, because what I cared about was, what is the monthly payment? Can we afford the monthly payment? If we could afford the monthly payment, it didn't matter what the interest rate was. Now, part of that is because I am in the real estate industry. And so I know that when interest rates drop, I'm going to be able to refinance. So I didn't care about interest rates at that point. But for this conversation, let's talk about interest rates. So interest rates today, I think they're about 7.3 today. Let's put 7.3 in here. Interest rate in 12 months. In 12 months, the experts are saying, interest rates are going to drop, which is why so many people are waiting. Now, side note here. Remember I said that real estate is always about supply and demand. And if you are thinking about supply and demand right now, do we have high supply or low supply? We have extremely low supply, but we have a lot of demand still. There was a time in like January, February, where demand was starting to go down, and we were seeing some price reductions. We were seeing some things sell for a little bit lower. We were seeing the housing prices go down a tiny bit. And since then, demand has gone back up. Whether that's because buyers are now acclimating to the higher interest rates, buyers are okay with this, people are understanding the supply and demand concept, whatever it is, demand is going back up. So that's pushing home prices up again. Now, what's going to happen when interest rates drop? If they go to 5%, or let's even say 5.5%. When interest rates drop to 5.5%, the buyers are going to flood the market. And the reality about the supply in our area, the inventory in our area, Southern California, is that we don't have enough houses built for the amount of families that we have. So there's no way that we can catch up with the supply. We would need to be building for about 5 years to be able to catch up with the supply that we need. So we will not, even if a bunch of people decide to sell so that they can buy and take advantage of these 5.5% quote lower interest rates, we still are going to have a housing shortage for a long time. So we're still going to have low supply. And when those interest rates drop, that demand is going to go even higher, pushing prices up and up and up and up. So what I said is, well, I don't want to be in the market then, because if I'm looking for something right now and I can afford something for $480 right now, maybe I can afford something for $550 when interest rates drop. But by the time interest rates drop, the demand is going to be so high that when I go to put offers on these properties, it's going to be just like 2 years ago when people were offering $50, $100, $200, $300,000 over asking. And now I'm priced out of that and I'm back to the lower priced houses. I don't want that. I want to make sure that I can take advantage of whatever I can get into right now today. And then when interest rates drop, I can then refinance, maybe talk about making a move if I wanted to do that. But now I have options. Okay, so let's jump back into this. The expected appreciation on average is about 6%, still continued. And that's because of everybody says different things. All the experts say some different things, but on average, it's about 6%. So if we say 6% that the expected appreciation over a year is going to be, then we're going to leave it at that. Then we have to take into consideration our tax rates. Because remember, when you're a homeowner, you get to take a portion of the interest that you're paying and write it off on your taxes. You don't have to pay it. Well, you get that back. So it's always important to think about that too, because when we think about, you know, how much money we're paying in interest and all of that, well, the more interest we pay, the more interest the more our tax benefit is going to help us. So if we have about a 30% tax bracket, we can adjust that to whatever we want, but let's just call it 30%. And then this is the loan amount. So this all we'll deal with later. So let's talk about this. Now, this is saying that if I wanted to start renting now, but I said, no, let me wait a year before I buy, here's what we're missing out on. The lost principal contribution. So what I would be paying down on my house, we would be losing $4,600. The lost appreciation. Look at the appreciation as compared to this interest. That's a big number. $20,000 in appreciation. Then our lost tax deduction, we don't get the tax deduction, but we don't have to pay interest. The interest we're not having to pay for. So the net amount of this, the price of waiting is going to be, it's going to cost you $27,000 to wait a year. It's an average price of $2,200 a month. So when we look at, you know, a lot of times I do hear this, that, well, renting, I can rent something cheaper than I could buy it. True, if you're looking at it just apples to apples. But when you really compare all of this, is it really gonna work out that way? So let's talk about now if we were comparing it to an existing home. So let's take my home, for example, and say, okay, let's say sales price of $480, because that's what we just bought for. We put 20% down. The interest rate, I don't remember what it was, but we'll just leave it at that. And remember, keep that in mind. I don't remember what it was because it didn't impact my life at all. All I'm worried about is the monthly payment. Can I make the monthly payment? Yes. I don't care what the interest rate is, because when it drops, we'll be able to refinance. All right, we're going to leave all of this the same. And now we're going to go down here. So the sales price of my original property was $265. The loan balance was $245, and my interest rate was about 4% actually. Oh, it was so high at the time. I was so sad. Now, if I decided to hold off and wait, and I said, you know what, I'm going to stay in my $265,000 condo for now. I'm going to just wait. So now we're going to go back here and say, okay, the lost principal contribution is only $782. That's not bad, because I'm basically trading mortgage for mortgage. So I still am going to have this principal contribution. It's going to be more because the home I bought is more expensive. Then the lost appreciation, here's where the appreciation comes in. I'm losing out on $10,000. And then the lost tax deduction, I would have a tax deduction of $5,000. And then the additional interest. So the interest, there is a difference here, because remember, my current interest rate was only 4%. So why would I trade up to a 7% interest rate? Well, here's your answer. Because the price of waiting would cost me $20,000. I don't want to miss out on $20,000. And it's about $1,600 a month, because I'm gaining all of this and I'm just losing this. So it's about $20,000. So let's look at it. If I say, okay, well, I want to move from this house to an $800,000 house. Because, you know, a lot of times people move from a condo. So let's say $500,000 condo. And let's say that they owed $400,000 on their condo. So going from a $400,000 or $500,000 condo, going up to an $800,000 house, let's say a 20% down payment, because that's pretty standard. Interest rate today, we're going to leave it at 7.3, interest rate in 12 months, yada, yada. Now look at the difference. These numbers just get bigger because they're all based on percentages. So they all get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the price of waiting ends up being $30,000. So that's going to be $2,500 a month. So then that makes me think, well, why would I not just buy an $800,000 house? Well, we have to be able to afford it. Let's be real. We do have to make sure that we can still afford the monthly payments. One of the things that I hear people say all the time, it kind of makes me cringe, but I hear real estate agents say, well, there's this saying, date the rate, marry the house. Meaning you don't have to stick with the rate that you're at. You get to stick with the house that you're in. And I love that saying. But what so many agents will say is, don't listen to that. Who cares about that? What you need to do is worry about getting into something you can afford. And to me, I'm like, well, duh. Of course you need to get into something you can afford. You're not going to get into something that you can't afford just because you want this house. If I can't afford a $5 million house right now, I'm not going to get into it just because I want to not worry about the interest rates. Of course, you need to look at how much is it going to cost per month. Okay. So let me just give that as a disclaimer. We need to look at our own finances and see what we can afford. So in this example, we're talking about $1,400 in lost principal contribution, because remember, the mortgage is higher, so we're paying more to our principal. Lost appreciation, we're going to be able to appreciate 15,000, or we're going to have an appreciation of $15,000 in a year. And we're going to have a lost tax deduction of $9,000 and minus additional interest. And then that brings us to $30,000. Now, here's the thing that people are looking at, because this is saying this is in a year, this is considering that it's going to, go down. What we want to change, though, is if we're looking at it instead of later, let's look at it now. Now, here's what we're seeing. The net outcome, if I move today, is not going to be looking that great, because we still are going to be paying more interest. We're going to gain this appreciation. All of these numbers are going to be the same. We're going to add this to our tax deduction. But this interest payment is a big difference, from 4% to 7.3%. That's a big difference. But the reality is that the net outcome for upgrading is still only about $1,700 for the year. And it's about $144 extra dollars a month. So when people talk about upgrading and they say, no, I don't want to do that, what you're not taking into consideration are all of these factors, that you get additional appreciation, you get additional tax deductions and all of that. And if you know that the interest rates are going to be lower, then you can really look at, okay, what are the benefits in a year? So now we can keep going with this. If we say, how about if we start with a house of $800,000, maybe let's say it's $600,000 as what we owe, and we want to move up to like a $1.2 million house. That's pretty common in our area. The next step up from an $800,000 would be 1.2. We put 20% down, all the rest is going to stay the same. Now these numbers just get bigger, so on and so forth. You can see this, how it just continually goes up and up. So the price of waiting, the cost of waiting every month is going to be $3,500 every month to wait. The price of waiting is going to be $42,000 a year. Because this is all on percentages, it just keeps going up. So if you want to, like we could say the same thing about a $10 million house. So of course you want to just keep going up, because the appreciation matters more. This number is always going to be higher than what you're missing out on. Now, of course, when we look at this for today they're going to be spending $429 more. So that, of course, that's something to consider. Can we do that? Is that in our budget? If it's not in our budget, then no, it doesn't make sense. However, if you look at the big picture of it, that's where it starts to make sense. That's where these numbers start to come into play. I wanted to show you just as a side by side the cost of waiting. So we have $500,000 moving from $500,000 to $800,000. So like you're moving from a condo into a house. Today, if you were looking at it today, the net outcome of upgrading would be negative $3,500. Remember, that's annually for the year. And remember, we're saying, yes, right now, today, you would lose a little bit of money. But if you want to upgrade, this is where we're talking about. And when prices come down, appreciation happens, all of that. Now, what we're saying is, what happened? The difference is actually $25,000 in the year. You're going to be able to gain $25,000. So the cost of waiting is a difference of $25,000. So it's a big deal. We say, okay, I'm going to have to give up $3,000 a year today, but in a year, I'm going to gain $25,000. That's a big difference. Is this making sense? Is it jiving? When I first saw this, I was like, oh, that's so good. I need to share this. And then the same kind of example when we're going from $800,000 to $1.2 million. Today, we're going to be saying it's a net loss of $7,800. However, in a year, because of appreciation, because of interest rates coming down, it's actually, if we don't move, we're going to be missing out on $35,000. All right, so what's the bottom line? What did we learn here? I love this. And if you guys have come to any of my other webinars or seminars, you've probably seen some variation of this. But the key here is this guy, he's walking up the stairs and he's playing with a yo-yo. So the yo-yo is going up and down, and the yo-yo represents the rate volatility. So the interest rates going up and down, up and down, up and down. But as the rates go up and down, he is walking up the stairs, and the stairs represent the housing appreciation. Housing appreciation always outperforms the interest rates. It's always going to be higher and higher, even when there's a dip. As long as you can withstand a dip, as long as you can stay there for 3 to 5 years, you're going to be able to withstand a dip in the market. So he's going up and up and up the stairs, and with the rate volatility of the yo-yo going up and down, he's still going up. So what do we know here? Stop trying to time the market. Not only is it a waste of time, but even for the experts, the probability of failure is high. And we know this because, this is what I'm always listening to 24/7. I'm learning, I'm hearing about what experts are saying about interest rates and all this kind of stuff. What we know is that back in May of 2023, the experts were saying, nope, interest rates are going to come down. They're going to come down. They're going to come down. They're going to come down. But what happened? Inflation just kept going up and up and up. So now they're trying to keep interest rates high to get inflation to come down. And so the interest rates for housing is continuing to go up. So actually, we are at like a 20 to 30 year high for interest rates. So that doesn't make me sound like, oh yeah, I want to buy, sign me up. But if you have the idea that the interest rate is not as important as getting in the game and getting that appreciation started. The appreciation machine is what is going to work to build you wealth. So it's not timing the market, it's about time in the market. So don't worry about the timing of the market. Don't worry about the timing of the interest rates. Even the experts get it wrong all the time, every day. So the question I have for you is, pretend there were no interest rates. Would you buy or sell now? What we do know is that there are a lot of people who wanted to buy or sell a year ago, 2 years ago, and didn't do it for whatever reason. And now they're feeling like, I should have done it then. Now I just need to jump in. And so if that is you, that's a conversation that we should have. Let's make sure that we are helping you to figure out your next steps. Because if you pretended there were no interest rates, then you wouldn't have as much of a trouble. But because there are all these headlines that do more to terrify than clarify, people are feeling like I can't make a move right now because these interest rates are so high. But as long as you can afford the monthly payment, that is what's key, because appreciation outpaces interest rates all day long, every day. All right. Are you ready to make a move? I am ready to help. Next month, we are going to be here the last Friday or the last Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. And next month, we're going to be talking about house hacking. How do we get started with investing? So if you're saying, I want to get started in investing, or I want to get started in buying something, but I need help with the income side of it, house hacking might be for you. So make sure that you join us, put it on your calendar, and I will be excited to bring that to you. So with that, thank you for coming, and I will see you next month. Bye, guys.